stop. Think about it for a second. Why did you end up with the person you married? Was it fate? Coincidence? Or was it something deeper? Something unseen, pulling the strings of your life? Here's the thing. You didn't just randomly bump into them in a crowded world of billions. Something brought you together. Something inside you knew, even before you did, that this person would become a mirror to your soul. This isn't just about love. It's not just about compatibility or timing. There's an invisible force at play, one that many refuse to see, but everyone feels. That force is called karma. You might not believe in karma. That's okay. But ask yourself this. Why do so many people keep repeating the same relationship patterns over and over again? They fall for the same type of person, same pain, same disappointment, same battles. It's not because they're unlucky, it's because they haven't yet understood the truth. What you give, you receive. What you ignore within yourself, you will attract from others. Marriage isn't just a union of two people. It's a meeting point of past actions, unresolved wounds, and deep subconscious imprints. It's a reflection of who you are at your core, not just who you want to be. Let's be honest. Many enter marriage hoping someone else will complete them. They believe that finally finding the one will heal their loneliness, fill their emptiness, make everything better. But more often than not, the opposite happens. Instead of feeling whole, they feel trapped. Instead of peace, they find conflict. Instead of love, they feel resentment. And when things fall apart, they blame the other person. They say, I made a mistake. I chose wrong. But what if you didn't choose wrong? What if you chose exactly what you needed in order to grow? Here's the secret no one wants to hear. The person you married came into your life not to make you happy, but to reveal the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Your partner didn't come to rescue you. They came to challenge you, to push you, to force you to look inward and face the truth. Because until you do, you'll keep attracting the same lessons over and over again. Until you understand the energy you put out into the world, you'll keep receiving the same results. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that every relationship you've ever had has been shaped by your own inner state. If you carry fear, you attract control. If you carry insecurity, you attract jealousy. If you carry unresolved pain, you attract chaos. The universe doesn't judge you. It simply reflects back what you project. Marriage, the most intimate bond we can form, is the ultimate mirror. It shows you who you truly are, whether you're ready to see it or not. But here's the good news. Once you understand this, you gain power. Once you realize that your marriage isn't just about your spouse, but about your own spiritual evolution, you begin to take responsibility, not for your partner's actions, but for your own energy, your own choices, your own growth. And that shift, it changes everything. So why are you still reading this? Because you know deep down that something needs to change. Whether your marriage is strong or struggling, you sense there's more beneath the surface. You feel that there's a reason you married who you married, and that perhaps, just perhaps, it wasn't random. You're here because you're ready to stop blaming, stop running, and start understanding. You're tired of repeating the same cycles, You want to break free. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Sarah who kept attracting men who abandoned her. First, her father left when she was 7. Then her first boyfriend ghosted her in college. Her husband had an affair after 10 years of marriage. "I'm cursed," she would say. "I attract losers." But Sarah's curse wasn't bad luck. It was unfinished business. Your marriage isn't random. It was never about luck or fate in the fairy tale sense. It's about energy, about choices made long before you even met your partner, choices buried deep in your subconscious, shaped by past experiences, inherited wounds, and unseen forces. This is karma's punishment, not as a curse, but as a teacher, a force that brings you exactly what you need to grow, whether it feels good in the moment or not. So what exactly is karma? Many believe it means getting back what you put out into the world. But it's more precise than that. Karma is cause and effect. It's the ripple of every action, every word, every thought you've ever had. Not just in this lifetime, but across lifetimes. In Buddhist teachings, life is seen as a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, each one shaped by the imprints left behind from previous existences. Every unresolved emotion, every lesson unlearned, continues to echo forward until it is faced. When you marry someone, you're not just joining with them in this life. You're reconnecting with energies that have followed you through time. Think of it like this. Your soul has unfinished business, lessons that were never completed, wounds that were never healed. And so it draws to you people who carry those same vibrations, people who trigger the very emotions you've tried to avoid. Perhaps you once betrayed someone in another life, and now you find yourself betrayed. Maybe you abandoned someone, and now you feel abandoned. These aren't punishments, they're invitations. Opportunities to finally face what you've been running from, to break the pattern, to rise above the cycle. Here's where modern psychology aligns with ancient wisdom. Studies show that we unconsciously repeat patterns from our past, especially those rooted in childhood trauma, attachment styles, and generational conditioning. You may think you're choosing your partner freely, but in reality, your subconscious is pulling the strings. It recognizes familiar emotional landscapes, even if they're painful, because familiarity feels safer than the unknown. So if you grew up witnessing conflict, you may subconsciously seek it out. If you learn to suppress emotions, you might attract someone who does the same. Your relationship becomes a reflection of everything you haven't yet healed. But understanding this isn't meant to make you feel trapped. It's meant to set you free. Because once you recognize the pattern, you gain the power to change it. You begin to see that your marriage isn't just about your spouse, but about your own evolution. That the pain you experience isn't meaningless. It's a message, a call to look inward, to stop blaming, stop resisting, and start transforming. This is where true growth begins. Not in blaming your partner for the way things are, not in wishing your life were different, but in accepting that everything that has happened to you has happened for a reason. That your marriage, whether joyful or painful, is a sacred opportunity, one that can either keep you stuck in old cycles or propel you toward awakening. And that's the real question. Will you continue to live unconsciously, repeating the same patterns, suffering the same heartbreaks? Or will you take responsibility for your part in the dance? Will you look at your marriage not as a mistake, but as a mirror? A chance to heal what's broken within you? Here's the most powerful truth of all. Karma isn't fixed. It can be changed, rewritten, transformed. Every moment offers a new choice. Every breath gives you the power to shift your energy, alter your path, and create a new future. But transformation doesn't happen through wishful thinking or positive affirmations alone. It happens through deep inner work, through honesty, through courage, through the willingness to face the parts of yourself you've ignored for too long. So ask yourself, what lessons is your marriage trying to teach you? What emotions are you avoiding? What patterns keep showing up, demanding your attention? The answers lie within you, not in your partner, not in anyone else. Only you hold the key to breaking the cycle. Only you can choose to rise above the karma that has shaped your life until now. And if you do, if you commit to healing, to growing, to evolving, something incredible happens. You begin to shift your energy. You start attracting different experiences, healthier relationships, deeper peace, true fulfillment. Because when you change inside, the outside changes too. That's the law of resonance. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So become the person who deserves love without suffering. Become the person who radiates peace instead of chaos. Become the person who no longer needs to repeat the past because they finally learned its lesson. This journey isn't easy, but it's necessary. Let me tell you about Michael. He was on his third marriage, convinced that he just kept picking the wrong women. All 3 wives had been controlling, demanding, critical. "I'm a magnet for crazy," he'd joke. But it wasn't funny anymore. The breakthrough came when Michael realized he wasn't attracting controlling women. He was attracting women who reflected his own need to be controlled. Deep down, he was terrified of making decisions, of taking responsibility, of standing up for himself. His wives weren't the problem. They were showing him where he'd abandoned himself. This is where the real work begins. Not in grand gestures or sudden breakups, not in searching for a better partner or a different life. The real transformation happens when you decide to look inward, when you commit to understanding the patterns that keep repeating, the emotions that keep surfacing, the fears that keep holding you back. This is the path of self-mastery, and it's the only path that leads to true freedom. Let's talk about resonance. You may have heard this word before, how like attracts like, how energy draws energy. But what does that really mean in the context of your marriage? It means that your inner world shapes your outer experience. If you carry fear, you attract control. If you carry shame, you attract judgment. If you carry unresolved anger, you attract conflict. Your spouse didn't come into your life to hurt you. They came to match the frequency you were already emitting. And until you raise your vibration, until you shift your inner state, nothing will truly change. So how do you begin to change your frequency? How do you start attracting peace instead of chaos? Love instead of struggle? Harmony instead of division? The answer lies in awareness, in mindfulness. in choosing moment by moment to respond differently, to speak differently, to think differently, to believe in something greater than the pain you've been carrying. Because belief is everything. What you believe about yourself determines what you allow in your life. If you believe you're unworthy of deep love, you'll unconsciously sabotage any relationship that threatens to give it to you. If you believe that suffering is normal, you'll stay in situations that make you suffer. If you believe that happiness comes from outside sources, you'll forever chase something that can only come from within. This is where the greatest battle takes place. Not with your spouse, not with the world, but within yourself, with every thought you choose to hold, with every story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve. These beliefs shape your reality more than anything else ever could. But here's the good news. You can change them. Every single one of them. You can rewrite the script. You can reprogram your mind. You can heal your heart. And when you do, everything around you begins to shift. Your marriage will either transform into something deeper and more meaningful, or it will guide you toward the next chapter of your life with clarity and strength. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the hidden force that shapes every relationship, your inner child, that wounded part of you that still carries fear, shame, longing, and pain from the past. The part that never truly felt safe. The part that learned early on how to survive, not how to thrive. This inner child holds the roots of every emotional pattern you repeat today. If they were abandoned once, you may unknowingly recreate abandonment in your marriage. If they were criticized harshly, you may constantly seek approval or expect judgment. If they witnessed chaos growing up, they may feel strangely at home in conflict. This is why so many people stay in unhappy marriages. Not because they don't want love, but because they don't know what real safety feels like. They confuse familiarity with comfort. They mistake pain for connection. And so they remain trapped in cycles that feel inescapable, unaware that the real prison isn't their spouse. It's the subconscious beliefs formed long ago. But here's the key. You're not your past. You're not defined by the wounds of childhood. You're not bound by the karma of previous lifetimes or the conditioning of your upbringing. You are something far greater. You are consciousness, awareness, choice. And in this moment, you have the power to rewrite everything. How? By becoming the parent to yourself that you never had. By learning to hold your own pain with compassion instead of judgment. By giving yourself the love and validation you once sought from others. When you begin to heal your inner child, when you learn to soothe their fears and meet their needs, something incredible happens. You stop needing your partner to fix you. You stop looking to them to fill the void. And in doing so, you free both of you. Because true love doesn't come from need. It comes from wholeness, from a place of inner peace, not desperation, from self-love, not self-abandonment. Until you cultivate that within yourself, no amount of external effort will bring lasting fulfillment. So ask yourself, what parts of you are still stuck in survival mode? What emotions do you avoid facing? What old beliefs keep showing up in your marriage, demanding your attention? Until you answer these questions honestly, you'll continue attracting the same lessons over and over again. And yet even this repetition isn't meaningless. It's guidance. It's proof that your soul is trying to wake you up. It's asking you to stop resisting the truth and start embracing it. Because once you do, once you take full responsibility for your emotional state, your energy shifts, your vibration changes, and suddenly you begin to attract different experiences, healthier connections, deeper peace, more authentic love. This isn't wishful thinking. This is the law of resonance. You don't attract what you desire, you attract what you embody. So if you want a better relationship, don't focus solely on changing your partner. Focus on changing yourself. Heal your trauma. Release your fears. Learn to sit with discomfort without reacting. Learn to give yourself what you once demanded from others. Because when you do, something profound happens. You stop being controlled by your past. You stop repeating the same mistakes. You stop attracting the same pain. Instead, you become a source of light, of strength, of unconditional love. And from that place, you can choose whether to stay and rebuild with new awareness or to walk away with clarity and courage. Either way, you win. Because growth is the only true success. Healing is the only real victory. And freedom, true inner freedom, is the greatest reward of all. You're beginning to understand. This journey isn't about fixing your marriage. It's about healing yourself. Every moment of pain, every argument, every silent resentment has been a message from your soul, asking you to look deeper, to feel more, to rise higher. And now that you've started listening, now that you've begun peeling back the layers, you stand at the edge of something powerful, something transformative. Because the greatest truth of all is this: when you change within, everything around you changes too. Let's talk about release, not just letting go with your mind, but with your entire being. So much of what we carry in our relationships isn't even about the present moment. It's about old wounds disguised as current battles. It's about past betrayals echoing through present fears. It's about unmet childhood needs masquerading as adult conflicts. Until you recognize this, you'll keep fighting the same fights over and over again. You'll believe your partner is the cause of your suffering, when in reality, they're only bringing it to the surface so you can finally heal it. That's why forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning hurtful behavior. It doesn't mean forgetting or allowing abuse to continue. No. True forgiveness is an internal shift, a decision to stop carrying the weight of pain that no longer serves you, to release the story that keeps you trapped in victimhood, to free yourself from the prison of resentment. Because as long as you hold on to anger, blame, and bitterness, you give away your power. You let the past dictate your present. You deny yourself the peace that is your birthright. So ask yourself, what am I still holding on to? What grudges, disappointments, or betrayals do I replay in my mind like a broken record? Who have I refused to forgive, not because they don't deserve it, but because I haven't allowed myself to move on? This is where the real battle ends, not with arguments or ultimatums, not with proof or apologies, but with a single quiet moment when you decide, You no longer want to suffer. You no longer want to be ruled by the past. You choose peace instead of pain, freedom instead of control, love instead of fear. And when you make that choice, something shifts deep inside. You begin to see your marriage differently, not as an enemy to fight, but as a teacher to thank. Even the most painful relationships serve a purpose. They break us open so we can expand. They strip away illusions so we can find truth. They force us to grow in ways we never would have otherwise. But growth doesn't come without discomfort. Healing doesn't happen without confrontation. And transformation doesn't take place without surrender. So if you want to truly evolve, if you want to break free from the patterns that have kept you stuck, you must be willing to let go of what no longer serves you. That includes toxic beliefs. That includes unhealthy expectations. That includes the need to be right, to be validated, to be loved in a specific way. Because real love doesn't depend on conditions. Real freedom doesn't require permission. Real peace doesn't wait for someone else to grant it. It begins within you, with your willingness to face the truth, to accept what is, to honor your journey, even the parts that hurt. And here's the most powerful realization of all. When you stop waiting for your partner to change, when you stop trying to control the outcome, when you stop looking outside for what you must cultivate inside, you become unstoppable. You radiate a different energy, one that cannot be shaken by conflict or fear, one that attracts clarity, strength, and deep inner alignment. From this place, you can choose with full awareness. You can stay and rebuild with intention, or you can walk away with grace, knowing that your path is leading you exactly where you need to go. Either way, you're free, because you're no longer bound by karma. You're no longer trapped by unconscious patterns. You're awake, fully present, fully empowered. And that is the greatest gift your marriage could ever give you. You're no longer the same person who began this journey. Something has shifted within you, something deep, something real. You've faced the truth about your marriage, about yourself, about the invisible forces that shaped your choices long before you even met your partner. And now, standing in that awareness, you hold a power you never knew was possible. Not the power to control others, not the power to rewrite the past, but the power to choose how you move forward. With clarity, with courage, with complete honesty. Because here's what happens when you stop blaming, when you stop searching for someone else to fix things, when you finally take full responsibility for your inner world, you become unshakable. You no longer need validation from others to feel whole. You no longer allow external circumstances to dictate your peace. You begin to see every challenge as a lesson, every pain as a doorway, every ending as a beginning. And that's where true freedom begins. Not in changing your spouse, not in escaping your marriage, but in transforming yourself from the inside out. This isn't just about relationships, it's about life itself. Because once you understand the law of karma, once you recognize that everything you experience is a reflection of your own energy, you start seeing the patterns everywhere. In your friendships, in your career, in the way you speak to yourself late at night, in the way you respond to stress, to disappointment, to fear. You realize that you're the creator of your reality. that you're not a victim of circumstance, but a co-creator of your destiny. And with that realization comes a new kind of strength, one that doesn't depend on perfect conditions or ideal situations, one that stands firm even in the face of uncertainty, one that says, no matter what happens, I willn't lose myself again. Because that's the ultimate betrayal. Not the pain your partner may have caused you, not the loneliness you may have endured, not the dreams that may have shattered along the way. The deepest wound isn't inflicted by another, it's self-abandonment. It's the moment you stopped listening to your own heart, the moment you gave away your power, the moment you chose comfort over truth. But now you're choosing differently. Now you're choosing to stay connected to yourself, to honor your needs, to protect your peace, to walk away from anything that dims your light. Whether that means staying in your marriage with a new level of awareness, or stepping into a new chapter with grace and clarity, either way, you're no longer running, no longer hiding, no longer pretending that everything is fine when deep down, you know it isn't. You're ready to live authentically, fully, without apology. And that takes courage, real courage, because healing isn't easy. Letting go isn't simple. Facing the truth isn't comfortable. But nothing worth having ever comes easily. And nothing truly transformative ever happens without discomfort. So if you're still listening, if you've made it this far, know this: you were meant to hear these words. You were meant to awaken to the deeper meaning behind your marriage, your pain, your path. You were meant to break free from cycles that have kept you trapped for too long. And now the final step awaits you. Not a grand gesture, not a dramatic exit, but a quiet, powerful shift in your energy. A commitment to yourself, to keep growing, to keep healing, to keep evolving, to become the person who no longer needs to repeat the past because they finally learned its lesson. Because the greatest love you'll ever find isn't in another person, it's within you. It's the love that holds you through the darkest nights, the love that forgives your mistakes, the love that sees you clearly and still chooses you anyway. And when you cultivate that love, when you build your life from that foundation, something incredible happens. You begin to attract people who reflect your truth, relationships that support your growth, experiences that bring you joy without sacrifice, a life that feels aligned, purposeful, deeply meaningful, not because you changed everyone else, but because you changed yourself. Here's something most people don't realize. When you heal, you don't just change your own life. You change everyone around you. Think about it. When you stop reacting from old wounds, your partner has to find new ways to interact with you. When you stop playing the victim, others can't play the rescuer. When you stop needing validation, people start respecting you differently. This is the ripple effect of inner transformation. It's not just personal, it's relational. It's generational. Let me tell you about Maria. She grew up in a household where emotions were dangerous. Her mother would explode at the slightest provocation. Her father would disappear for days. So Maria learned to be perfect, to never need anything, to make herself small. She married a man who seemed safe, quiet, predictable. But after 15 years, she realized she was suffocating. She'd become so good at not needing that she'd forgotten how to want anything. The breakthrough came when Maria started therapy, not couples therapy, individual therapy. She began to understand that her fear of emotions wasn't protecting her marriage, it was killing it. As she learned to feel again, to express her needs, to take up space, something incredible happened. Her husband, who she thought was emotionally unavailable, began to open up too. He'd been holding back because he sensed her fear. Their marriage didn't just survive, it thrived. But more importantly, their teenage daughter started coming to them with her problems instead of hiding them. The healing rippled forward into the next generation. That's the power of doing this work. You're not just changing yourself, you're changing your lineage. But transformation isn't a one-time event, it's a daily practice. A moment-by-moment choice to respond differently than you have before. It's catching yourself when you're about to react from an old wound and pausing instead. It's feeling the familiar tightness in your chest when your partner does that thing they always do, and choosing to breathe instead of attack. It's messy. It's imperfect. Some days you'll nail it. Other days you'll fall back into old patterns. That's human. The difference is that now you're aware. Now you can catch yourself. Now you can choose again. This is what conscious relationship looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but awake. Your marriage reflects more than just your individual wounds. It reflects the collective wounds of your family lines. The patterns passed down through generations, the unspoken traumas, the inherited beliefs about love, money, power, worth. When you marry someone, you're not just joining with them, you're joining with their entire ancestral story, their family's way of handling conflict, their lineage's relationship with intimacy, their generational patterns around trust. This is why some marriages feel heavier than others. You're not just dealing with your own karma, you're dealing with centuries of accumulated patterns. But here's the beautiful thing. You have the power to break these cycles, to be the one who says, "This ends with me." To transform not just your marriage, but your entire family tree. From this perspective, your marriage becomes more than a romantic partnership. It becomes a sacred contract, a soul agreement, a commitment to growth disguised as a commitment to love. You chose each other not just consciously, but at a soul level to heal together, to trigger each other's deepest wounds so they could finally be seen, to love each other through the darkness as well as the light. This doesn't mean you have to stay in an abusive relationship. It doesn't mean you should tolerate disrespect or betrayal. It means you can see even the most painful experiences as opportunities for growth. When you understand your marriage as a sacred contract, everything changes. Arguments become conversations. Conflicts become opportunities. Pain becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. Science is beginning to understand what mystics have always known. Consciousness creates reality. When you change your inner state, you literally change the quantum field around you. This isn't just spiritual talk, it's physics. Your thought, emotions, and beliefs create an electromagnetic field that influences everything around you. When you heal your trauma, you're not just changing your psychology, you're changing your biology, your energy signature, your very presence. And that presence affects everyone you encounter. Your healed energy gives others permission to heal. Your authenticity invites others to be authentic. Your peace creates space for others to find their peace. This is why doing your inner work is the most generous thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for everyone whose life you touch. As you walk forward from this moment, carrying this new understanding, remember that you're not alone. Millions of people before you have walked this path. Millions are walking it now, and millions more will walk it after you. But here's what happens when you truly commit to this path of conscious transformation. You begin to understand that your marriage was never just about you and your partner. It was about something much larger, much more profound. Every relationship you've ever had, every person who has walked into your life, has been part of an intricate web of connection that spans beyond what the mind can comprehend. Your marriage sits at the center of this web, touching every other relationship, every other soul, every other story that intersects with yours. When you heal your marriage through inner work, you're not just healing your present moment. You're healing backwards through time, releasing patterns that have echoed through your lineage for generations. The anger your great-grandmother never expressed, the abandonment your grandfather never processed, the fear your parents never acknowledged. All of it gets stored in the collective unconscious of your family system, waiting for someone brave enough to feel it, face it, and finally let it go. This is why your marriage often feels so intense, so triggering, so impossibly difficult at times. You're not just dealing with your own emotional baggage, you're processing the accumulated wounds of everyone who came before you. You're the one chosen to break the cycle, to transform the pattern, to heal what has been broken for decades or even centuries. And when you do this work, something remarkable happens. The healing doesn't just flow backward through your lineage, it flows forward too. Your children, whether they exist yet or not, inherit a different energetic blueprint. They're born into a family system that has been cleared of old trauma, freed from unconscious patterns, liberated from inherited pain. This is the real reason your soul chose this marriage. Not for the romance, not for the companionship, not even for the love, though these may come. Your soul chose this particular partnership because it knew that together, you and your partner could accomplish something that neither of you could do alone. Break the chains of unconscious suffering that have bound your families for generations. Every fight you've had, every tear you've shed, every moment of despair you've endured has been in service of this greater purpose. You've been alchemists, transforming the lead of unconscious pain into the gold of conscious awareness. You've been healers, working not just on your own wounds, but on the wounds of the collective. This perspective doesn't diminish the very real pain you may have experienced. It honors it. It gives it meaning. It reveals that your suffering wasn't random or pointless. It was purposeful, necessary, sacred. When you understand your marriage as part of this larger healing mission, everything shifts. The resentment you've carried begins to dissolve. The anger transforms into compassion. The pain becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. You begin to see your partner not as the source of your problems, but as your partner in the deepest work of all, the work of healing humanity, one relationship at a time. This is why you're still here, still reading, still listening. Because deep down, you know that your marriage is about more than just your personal happiness. It's about your participation in the great work of healing that's happening on this planet right now. You're part of a great awakening, a collective healing, a shift in consciousness that's happening on a planetary scale. Your marriage, whether it transforms or ends, is part of this larger story. Your healing contributes to the healing of the whole. Your growth elevates everyone around you. So take a deep breath. Stand tall. Know that you're exactly where you need to be. That every step you've taken, the good, the bad, the painful, the beautiful, has led you to this moment of awakening. And whatever comes next, remember this: you didn't marry your partner by accident. You married them so you could finally see yourself. And now that you do, you're free. Free to choose, free to grow, free to love from a place of wholeness instead of need, free to create a life that reflects your deepest truth, free to be who you were always meant to be. The journey continues, but now you're walking it with eyes wide open, heart fully present, soul completely your own, and that changes everything. Thanks for watching. Click here to check out another video.